Hello everyone, thanks for stopping back again. New project, replace the kitchen sink. Yes, new project, always a project out here, I tell you. Alright, so let's spin around here and I'll show you what we're doing. So this is it. Oh yes, the 2003 Fleetwood sink. Very shallow, stainless, but it's starting to show its age, and it is just way too shallow, very hard to use. And the original faucet, everything works, but time for an upgrade. So what I did, we spin over here, new Recpro double basin, so very deep. I think this is 9 inches. The old one I believe is 4 or 5. And this is nice. I'm very impressed with the way that's built. Composite material, it'll be nice. Not stainless, but don't have to worry about scratches or anything like that. And another nice thing I saw, made in USA. Happily made right here. And then I also bought a faucet. Oh, it's around somewhere. Just a nice faucet to put on it. But this is going to be a great improvement. So let's start tackling this project. First thing we need to do is get this sink out. So let's do that. Now my sink design here is pretty simple in looking at it. One elbow to worry about. Both bowls are hooked up. And the sink bowl is just held in by some thumb screws. Should only take a couple minutes to loosen everything up. And I'll show you what I get once I get everything done. But this should only take a couple minutes. Looks very simple. So I say. Alright, let's get the sink out. Alright, simply came out. This is what was under there. Just held it in there. These are all thumb screws though. All were thumb screws except for one. See? They were short one and put a nut on it. And luckily I was able to wedge it out. But there you go. One sink out. So now, clean up. I've got plumber's putty down here. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all cleaned up. And then we'll work on that faucet. See, this stuff's just old plumber's putty. Alright, before I make a mess, I'm going to bring over the trash bag. Okay, clean up. Here's where we are with the install. Little update here. I've prepped the hole. That was quite the chore, and I'll show you in a second. But note how note the difference in size between the two. So this the measure twice, cut once. I measured several times, and I still misjudged the size of this sink. It is definitely not as long as I thought it should have been. So we've got about an 1.5 inch gap. I'm going to backfill it with a piece of wood. I've got some white stained wood I'm going to put in there. So it'll look good. But sink fits real nice. Let me pull it off and show you where we're at. I've got the hole lined up right below where the drain is. Here's what we're looking at. I'm going to put this down. Here's what we have for a hole. Notice all the mods I had to do. Cut some areas here for the screw holes, so you'll see I took my jigsaw, made a swoop there, a couple of swatches over here. I had to make the hole line up for the faucet. Had a big inlet here for the screws, or for the mounting brackets, and I had a little one down here for the mounting bracket. The hole lined up perfectly. Here's the way my drain looks from above. On the old sink, this elbow was over here a little bit, so it was just a matter of swinging the elbow around, which was just a matter of unscrewing the elbow from this T here, from the T here over to this pipe. Really simple to do. So next step here is I need to mount my wood here on the side, finish that off. Then we can mount the sink in. Once the sink's done, we can start worrying about the water, tie in the water lines, get those prepped, and then we can mount the faucet. So not a whole bunch left. I've got one part coming yet today for this. I misjudged how big that was. I bought a 2-inch to a 1.5-inch reducer. I need to have a 1.5-inch to a 1.25 reducer. This is 1.25. So actually that's 1.5. This is 1.5, and the pipe that's going into here from the sink up is 1.25. So that's that. You can easily confuse that. So this is where we're at, moving along. It's taking longer than I thought. Been working on it a couple days here, just on and off. You know, I come out here and spend 15-20 minutes and go back in the house and get some work done. So yep, it's just a side project, but we're moving along. All right, see you on the next update. All right, well, it's been about 2 days now since I did the woodwork. This came out really nice. Cut that piece of wood to fit in there. Used Gorilla Glue, wood glue. Went in there. It did drip out some of it. That glue is pretty thin, but it did. There was a nice layer in there between the wood that stuck. And then what I did between the seal around the edges here, I went in with Flex Shot. I love this stuff. Easy to use, super easy to use. And I just went around here, and then I just took my finger and smoothed it in. So we've got a watertight seal there. And now it's time to let it sit another day. Tomorrow we should be able to come in here and start putting this thing together. Finally. Finally. All right. See you on the next one. We are back. It's been about, probably a good week and a half since that last clip. But it's done. It was a nightmare. There are other videos on YouTube about RVers trying to replace their sinks, and I had the same issues everybody else is. It is a nightmare to figure out that drain. So let me put in a clip of what it was to begin with, and then I'll show you what it is now. All right, here we go. All right, here's the final product. Sink is in. Was doing some testing. Yes, we do. We have a working sink and faucet. Oh. Let me turn on the water. Here we are. With the spray nozzle. Nice indeed. Much improvement. So let's take a look underneath and I'll show you what we did. This is where it got tricky. So underneath the sink, this is a Recpro Sink. This is the Moen strainers at the bottom. Coming into Recpro fittings. This is around, I think they're around $8 on Amazon, but this is the Recpro connector, which I liked because this is adjustable. So if you had a wider faucet, or if you had a wider sink, you could adjust this right here. I know there's other ways to do it, but this was the easiest method for me. This is Recpro. This is Recpro. This is 1.25 inch pipe. Just remember that, 1.25 inch. The RV is 1.5 inch. This is all 1.5 inch pipe with connectors. The issue I ran into was this junction right here was way too short for me to get a normal trap in there. This is the actual trap that I pulled out. When it was on the pipe here, it only left a gap of about 1/2 inch, and it was not straight down. I could not line up this pipe like that. So My only option was to cut off the P-trap as it is. As you can see, I cut it off and reroute some of this plumbing over here. What I had to do was this pipe right here, this arm, was way up here, right across from this horizontal bar. And I was worried about the water not being able to exit here because it was right in line with that. That water level would have been way too high. So I dropped it down about 4 inches via cutting the pipe down here using a 2-inch PVC pipe cutter, which I highly recommend. I cut the pipe down here and tied in, I basically just tied in the rest of the unit. So I dropped it down about 4 inches, cut this piece off here because I needed to cut this off, and tied into a 1.5 inch male up here. So that being said, my saving grace on the P-trap was this right here, this Simply Drain. I bought this at Home Depot. It's also on Amazon, and used it to tie the Recpro connection, which is 1.25 inches, to my new male end over here, which is 1.5 inches. And it has worked flawless. Love that thing. And like I said, I really needed it because this connection right here, I could not figure out how to plumb. With it being so close, this connection was so close, I couldn't figure out how to plumb a hard P-trap in it. This is what I came up with, and it works great. So that's that. And then the PEX in the back ran all the way to the top. So those PEX pipes ran all the way up to the wood on the counter, which is where they tied into the old faucet. So using that PEX cutter again, I brought those connections down here. I cut them off, installed shark bite connections for the new faucet. I've done that in 2 other RVs and it works flawless. I love it. That also gives me 2 valves I can use to turn off the water if needed. This was it. So Simply Drain was the key, and using a 2-inch PEX pipe cutter. Highly recommended. And that's it. It sounds easy, but it took me, like I said, a solid 7 to 10 days to figure out how I wanted to do this. It only took a trip to Home Depot, a trip to Lowe's, a trip to Ace Hardware, and 2 shipments from Amazon. And I'll tell you what, a bulk of that was all returned because it was wrong parts. This right here saved the day. And that's it. We're good to go. So, new faucets in. Couldn't be happier. Wife's happy. I'm happy. That's the important thing. Alright, everyone. Any questions? Let me know. Be glad to answer them. We'll see you on the next one.